Nicholas Wan, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. You wanted to talk about Congresswoman Tenney's no vote. What's your take on that? We're talking about the budget, which really put New York in a tough position because it took away one of our really big, or it would take away, if this passes through the Senate, it would take away one of our big tax exemptions here in New York. Congresswoman Tenney, along with a handful of other New York Republicans, voted no. What's your take?
Well, first off, she was on, I'm speaking Congresswoman Tenney, she was on a Utica broadcast either a week or 2 weeks ago, and she was actually saying that she was not, she was not in favor of standing up for the SALT deduction. She literally said this a week ago because what she said was that if you're claiming the SALT deduction, you already have means, you're already wealthy. So she said, so for the people to stand up and fight for SALT deductions, she thought it was hypocritical, these Democrats, because she said that that's defending the elite. So now 1 week later, she comes out and now she cites this as her reason for opposing the bill. So to me, she either sounds confused or it's probably what we all suspect, or at least what I suspect, was that this was just very politically motivated. It did not come from principle. And you guys have seen this Politico article that came out that said basically these congressmen and women from New York huddled in the back of the House. They waited till the bill was secure and passed, and then they went and voted no. So to me, that's just political posturing.
So how do you prove something like that, though? I mean, you believe, obviously you can believe that she knew that she was, this thing was going to pass and that she could vote no for political reasons. But how do you know?
Sure, yeah, sure. You can't, you can't tell for certain.
Fairness,
I'm
really
going to accuse her of political posturing. But remember last week, she was no defender of the SALT deduction. She's on the record saying that. And
I'm sorry, I just want to go, Nicholas, excuse me for 1 second. I just want to get your reaction to this. I just did a quick Google search. This is a story from Syracuse.com. It goes to September 27th, and it notes in the story here that Claudia Tenney was one of several Republican members of Congress, sent a letter to Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin asking to reconsider the plan to eliminate the deduction. The letter sent in July noted that the state and local tax deduction has been part of the U.S. tax code since 1913. It gets into it here that it affects New Yorkers disproportionately. This story goes back to September. The letter goes back to July.
Sure, perhaps, but it's still withstanding. This is what she was saying on public radio literally a week ago. You guys could look it up. I'm abstaining from bringing up the broadcast because I want out of respect to your guys' show.
Okay,
but
thank you.
But secondly, let me just say this because you guys are talking about the Zogby poll that you guys are running, and I think that's great. But let me give you a couple polls that just came out in the last week. One is that President Trump's disapproval rating has just now hit 60%. So that's one. And more importantly, his approval among white men without college degrees has dropped by 12%. So my point in this is SALT is a distraction. That's not what's important. What's important is amongst the voting base, the working men and women that elected President Trump, the reason he's president today, this budget resolution does not put them first. I don't see how this Republican establishment, to me, they must be tone deaf. To see polls like this and then to think, oh, here's a great idea. Let's give tax cuts to billionaires. To me, that makes no sense.
I'll often struggle, Nicholas, with your with where you are. I mean, you're running as a what part of the Republican Party are you running? Because I struggle to find you fitting into the Republican mold here.
Yeah, this is I'm just an American First Republican, and I want to bring this up too. And I think I tweeted this to you, Bill. I'm not sure how quickly you read the Twitter, but Steve Bannon, the head of Breitbart, the chief strategist for Trump, who just resigned, he is actually the first one to call for raising taxes on the mega wealthy. He suggested raising it to 44%. So I don't think I'm the one out of lockstep here. I think it's these establishment Republicans who are just not in touch with what real working class men and women really what's important to them.
Yeah, well, I think
it's not a traditional stance, but I think it's one that resonates.
Okay, there is a disconnect certainly between the established Republicans and probably the Republican Party and those people who are in the Republican Party. It seems that there is. Obviously, a couple of establishment Republicans have recently announced they're not running for re-election. But I'm trying to put you into Because why would you bring up the president's negative numbers? I mean, that poll just came out. It does have the president, and there's two polls out. There's an NBC Wall Street Journal poll, and there's a Fox News poll that both have the same numbers, with the president's approval rating down at like 38%, which is the lowest it's been so far. So why did you bring that up? If you are a Make America Great Again Republican, why are you talking about his negative poll numbers?
I'm bringing it up because it's an important indicator. The reason why Make America Great Again resonated with anyone is because it resonated with a very key part of the demographic that never really voted Republican before, which was white, working-class men and women. And what I'm saying is, if we're seeing those numbers drop, and those are the people that are responsible, by and large, for electing Donald Trump, that's not a good indicator, and it tells me that the establishment Republicans are off kilter with what these very important voters said was important to them in the presidential election.
Well, I want to go back I want to go back to the poll, because still 80% of Republicans think the president is doing a good job.
Sure. And you know, those polls are hyper-partisan, but this is my point. This budget resolution.
Why is that hyper-partisan when the other part of the poll isn't hyper-partisan? It all came from the same poll. The numbers of Republicans, obviously it's a partisan, but that's my point. That's what we're talking about. Republicans here. Republicans overwhelmingly do still support this president.
True, but amongst that key demographic that carried it for Trump, this is what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm talking the white, these people without college degrees, the people that typically actually voted Democrat. These are like Reagan Democrats. So these are the people that President Clinton appealed to. These are the people now that Trump won over that didn't vote for Hillary, and I think they're the important part. And you guys know this budget resolution, it's not a bill. It's not going to go to President Trump. He's not going to sign this. It just lays out their priorities. And I just wish that tax cuts for billionaires wasn't the priority. That, to me, is just an establishment GOP, and I don't think we can handle that. I just don't think that's what's going to work. I would have liked to see something that we could have all come around, which was a $1 trillion infrastructure spending bill. To me, that would have been a smarter move. It had bipartisan support. He would have gotten a good, quick victory. Okay. Right. And instead, it doesn't even look like this is going to, if these indictments do come out this morning, it's looking very unlikely that tax reform will even get done.
Yeah. And on the president's plan for the wall, do you support that?
Absolutely. I support it.
Okay. And you feel, and I know we've talked about the fact that you are a firm believer that people who come into this country should come in legally, and if you didn't, dreamers included, you should go and then re-enter the country and do it through the legal process. That's
and that's not
stance.
Controversial amongst Republicans, but I would go a step further. And it's not, for me, just illegal immigration. I think legal immigration needs to decline as well.
Okay. Well, it is certainly declining this year. The numbers that the president has talked about is the numbers are lower than what they were under Obama. So, all right. Anything else you want to add, Nicholas Wan?
No. Good luck to you guys with the poll. It sounds like that's something great. And as always, I'm enjoying the show. And thanks for having me on.
All right, thanks. And I apologize, you're not in the poll yet. Your candidacy kind of popped up, and you weren't in that discussion. But I promise you, the next time there's a poll, we'll include you in it as well.
That's quite all right. I'm just glad to get my name out there.
Right. Thanks so much. Nicholas Wan.
Thanks, guys.
From the Binghamton area.
I think, actually, if we could add to the poll, it's pick what political party Nicholas Wan is in.
Yeah.
Do you think he's partly Republican?
I'm still not convinced. But
he's interesting,
what is interesting, and I guess I wasn't quite sure. He threw me for a loop when he came out and started giving the poll numbers. Because those are negative numbers for the president. That threw me for a loop, because I've kind of been able to position him as being a Donald Trump Republican, which is really what the message is right now. This is Trump's party now. It's not what it used to be. This is Trump's Republican Party. So you have someone like this Nicholas Wan, who seems to have views that might be liberal in some cases, on gun control, on taxes, on welfare, on the death penalty, on everything that I asked him about the last time that he was on. But when it comes to immigration, he's all in with. He seems all in with Trump, and then some.
Yeah. And then some.
As the son of an immigrant himself.
But then he opened up with the president's poll numbers, and that just kind of baffled me a little bit.
He's interesting. I like talking to him. It is interesting, I think.
Right. Nicholas, thanks for your time.
He's a dangerous spoiler because he's a slash and burn on both sides. You know what I mean?
Could be, yeah.
He really is.
Yeah. And, of course, being from the Binghamton area, it'll be interesting to see what kind of weight he pulls down there.